Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? Hopefully you're doing well. Thank you for being patient. This morning was one of those days where I just had so many dreams that came through, so many messages that came through. It took a couple extra moments to get everything set up. And I also went a little deeper into some of the mythology that we'll be talking about today. So you definitely have some important things coming through today, Taurus. And you joined me on a good day. So thank you so much. I see we already have some new members who joined. I just want to welcome you, and some folks who have given some super chat messages and super stickers. Thank you so much for doing that. It really makes a difference in allowing me to do more of these videos and to use new cards, new supplies. So thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. Apollo does as well. I'm going to put him down here so he can get back to his nap time in just a second. But let me just talk about a few things. First of all, my name is Nicholas Ashbaugh. I'll be reading for the sign of Taurus. All of the readings that I do, you can use for your sun, rising, and your moon sign, also Venus if you know it. And the way that I organize it is in a few parts. I like to begin with channeled messages, which is why I was a minute or two late here. And then after that, I like to move on to the Celtic Cross, and the Celtic Cross portion for me can take on any form. It doesn't have to be just love or romance or work. It basically is your soul and what needs to come through. And as we navigate through the messages from your soul, then I go into the expanded forecast to look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. Love is included in that. And it helps to know where you're at to figure out how to deal with who's in your life and what's going on with them. Always starts with the soul first. And then we'll go a little bit deeper into the soul path after we do a review. And at the very end, I will answer a final question for you after we do a meditation. So there's a lot to go through here. I will put timestamps. Please give me at least 12 hours to put those timestamps in because it takes a little bit of time to organize stuff. But after all of that, you will have this as a resource for the next 6 to 8 weeks to make your life amazing. Thanks again for those continued super stickers and super chats. I really appreciate it. Really does help. So I'm going to look up some stuff in real time here just to give you a couple of pictures on the iPad while I'm doing this. But there are two symbols today that came through. One of them was the crow. And I took an early morning walk with my dog and couldn't get away from them. Literally everywhere I was going, the crows were yelling at me. And I paused because a few months ago I talked about them, but today it's a much different message. We're not going to talk about the birds as much as their association with Odin, who is a Nordic god, the All-Father, basically like their equivalent to Zeus. So crows we'll look at, and then I'm also going to show you Odin and the Hanged Man because he's associated with that card in tarot, and so there's actually some really cool messages that came through as a result of that. So here we go. All right, so of course the crows were coming through this morning and saying hello. Magical birds for me, I really don't mind them. I think sometimes they get a bad rap, but they're very intelligent. Even that the article here with that picture that I was looking at, they're smarter than we think. They clean up things, and that's one of the messages that they have for us. And they were the sort of companions of Odin. Odin is associated with the Hanged Man, and we're going to talk about that in a second. And all of these things play into your messages for today. All right, so let's talk here. So you have a spirit totem that's really a dual totem today, starting with the crow, but ultimately led into Odin. And I'm going to talk about Odin first here because as I was doing some research, Norse mythology, the crows are associated with Odin. They were his eyes and ears, important because he was lacking one of his eyes. He gave up an eye to gain knowledge, and we'll talk about that in just a second. So as his eyes and ears, they're a reminder for you to really pay attention to what's going on, to be discerning, to be attentive, to focus on what people are saying. It's important if you're running a business. It's important if you're in a relationship, what the other person's thinking. It's important if you're a teacher or a student to kind of keep up with what's going on. I don't think we need to give into peer pressure, but the Six of Wands exists for a reason. You want to kind of tap into that sort of communal energy, or the Ten of Pentacles, or the Ten of Cups, Three of Cups, all of these cards where other people are involved. That communal energy is coming through for you this month, Taurus. So it's probably going to be busy for you based on what I'm getting so far, which is good. We're just out of the retrograde. I'm still feeling some effects of it, but by the time this reading is kind of fully valid, you should not have any problems with that because we're into July. Retrograde was last month. The shadow should be done this week. And I'm really reading here for July and mostly August, so you'll be fine. So it's good to start to kind of reconnect with people. All right. I said here the other thing that would come through is what you would see possibly with the star card, which is increased scrutiny and opportunity. With one comes the other. So sometimes it's frustrating to have all of those eyes on you, but all of those eyes also mean that there are new opportunities that are starting to abound. So there's always sweet, there's always sour, there's always a mix, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. So just be aware that there's more eyes and ears on you. You should also kind of tune into them. Okay, so I just showed you the picture, the Hanged Man. We all know it well from tarot. If you don't know the story of it, I did the research this morning just so we could talk about it. He didn't lose his eye while hanging himself on the tree. There were two separate incidents. There's this well of knowledge from, there's this well here from which this tree of knowledge grows from. And what he did was he hung himself from the tree and peered into the sort of depths of the well and in the depths of the darkness around the tree for 9 days, I believe, yes, until he started to perceive the shapes of the runes, and the runes being not just letters, but these sort of magical symbols that allowed him to understand some of the mysteries of magic and the universe. There was a sacrifice, basically the sacrifice of time, 9 days, 9 nights. He also pierced himself with a spear, of course, because we need to have something dramatic because it's a story. And that sacrifice of time, of energy, of blood, basically allowed him to gain the knowledge that he sought. The way he lost his eye was there was this well at the bottom. I believe Mimir was the name of the guardian or the sort of watcher of that well. And in order for Odin to drink from the well, which was another way that he gained additional knowledge, he had to give a sacrifice, and this was his eye. So even a god here had to give things. There was an exchange for knowledge, for power, for magic, for experience. Not unlike we have to pay money to go to college, give up 4 years or give up 12 years of our life for primary education. And it's sort of like we give time, we give energy, we give resources. There's an exchange. So the crows were coming through as a sort of like messenger from Odin today to talk about the pause that we might be experiencing right now. So the unspoken totem is the Hanged Man, because that is Odin as well. So there is this period of time that we all kind of went through in the past year. We went through the Hanged Man as well as the Tower, as well as the world, a bunch of things all together. But the Hanged Man was so that we could learn things. And right now in your life, kind of take a look at things that are going on and think, all right, I'm impatient about this, or this hasn't happened yet, but look at how far I've come. Look at the fact that I've just survived this. And look at how much I've changed over the period of the past few weeks, months, years, etc. And this is going to help you kind of look at things from a different perspective. Suddenly you see it as an exchange, as a trade-off, and everything starts to be a little bit more manageable, okay? So again, just to kind of go through all of these, he hung from the tree of knowledge, Yggdrasil, upside down, looking down into the Well of Urd, if you wanted to know what it is. And it was 9 days. So for some of you, from the point after which you read or watch this video, there could be basically a week to a week and a half of maybe a little bit of a pause before things start to happen. Or on the 9s, like the 9th, the 18th, etc., you might start to notice some shifts happening over the next few weeks. Okay? And also because runes here, he actually sacrificed some of his energy to learn about runes. This is language, right? So you really want to be paying attention to how you use the written language, texting, writing, also how you're just using communication overall, and use the knowledge that you've gained, because this is important. Using all of your skills that you've gained in the past, this is your time to kind of bring that into fruition. Patience is essential, but so is the even exchange, and this is what we're going to talk about next. As I said, Odin wasn't exempt from making payment for his knowledge. You also should be compensated fairly. So if you're not, it's time to talk to your boss about a raise, or it's time to look for a better paying job, or it's time to look at how you might, over the next several years, because we don't always just do these things on the fly, how you might set course for something that fulfills you, pays you, and evens the exchange for how hard that work is for you to feel the sense of, I'm getting either more satisfaction or more money, or both. Why not? There should be something where everything's evened out. If you're spending a lot of time and energy with someone in your life, how is that evening out as well? Are they repaying you for that? Is there an equal exchange, or is it just one way or the other? Something I've been talking about a lot. The final message that I got from the crows, going back to them, we went into Odin and to the hanged man and all of that, was to clean up the messes in your life, because we're really at the midpoint of the year right now, and it's time to have a nice clean slate for this next portion of the year. But as they kept cawing at me this morning as I was walking, the message that I had in my head was clean up your mess, clean up your messes. That's kind of what I heard as they were crowing and cawing and speaking to me this morning. So if there's anything in your life where you've been putting it off, where you think, okay, tomorrow or the next day, I'll eventually get to that, I want you to make that more of a priority and do it sooner than later, so that everything is going to get cleaned up and cleared up a little bit. Okay. So there you go on that one. So a lot came through with that. And crows are, to me, they can be very spiritual, very sacred animals. I actually saw a number of them, and I didn't write down the number here, but it was about 6 crows. To me, because they're, I associate birds with air. So I see birds as swords, and that's like the 6 of swords. So for many of you, that is a passage of time, that is a moving on, that is being maybe setting course and seeing the destination, because in many of the tarot decks, you can see something in the distance. And it's sort of like, you know where you're headed, you're making that passage, but it's just how fast are you going to move? And we're going to talk about that, because the speed is important. I feel like if you know what you're doing and you're comfortable with that, and you have like your sort of internal GPS, then good. If not, take your time. It's going to be important for that. All right. Let's kind of take a little bit of a different angle here and focus on something else for a moment. I heard the words like separation and divorce as I was dreaming last night. So some of you are dealing with either a figurative release or an actual release of someone or something. So it could be a relationship, it could be a friendship, it could be a job. There's a lot of things that justice reverse, for instance, can indicate. And in these situations, it's really about bringing balance. And I think it was nice that we talked about Odin and that exchange of power and energy, because maybe in one of your relationships, there's something that's missing. And this is a reclamation, because justice holds scales, right? She's not there to hurt anyone. She holds a sword because she means business, but she also holds scales, like we've got to get this done. So I feel like finding the balance is important. And if you can't find the balance, then it's time to move on. But you should try using the sword. You should try speaking first, writing, communicating, the runes that we saw with Odin, right? Do your best to try to leave, if you're going to leave, with dignity and grace, trying to elevate the conversation about it rather than saying, I hate you, or you can, whatever. There's a lot of things that can come through your head, but we're not going to go there. What you would want to try to do is also use all the different forms of communication available to you. Some people are visual. Some people hear better than they see stuff. And sometimes people need to kind of like read the written word. So make sure your body language is also working to kind of help you, not against you. So as you have these communications with people, as you try to negotiate for equal pay, equal respect, equal exchanges, make sure that the body language is also backing you up on all of that as well. The last thing that I would kind of say with all of this is, we were talking about the crows and all eyes being on you. Kind of look and see what that other person might be going through as well, because the crows remind you to get kind of like out of body. So empathizing is going to be important as well. All right, let's move on to the next piece here. Kind of, again, this is more specifically for those of you that may be working, but there could be any other sort of obligation. Let's say if you're retired and you're volunteering somewhere, or if you're in school and there's an extracurricular activity and it's taking up too much time, this message would also apply to all of those. It felt like a sabbatical or a leave of absence could also be good, or just some time off. Because I saw the 6 crows, the 6 of swords, basically this morning in Totem, in visual language. I think the next step for you is to kind of make some space between you and some things in your life that are tapping you out, and just kind of like, as we're kind of putting the shield around us, we need a little bit of space, a little room to stretch our arms. And I think that's something that you're going to benefit from this month, is just pushing back. It could also just be saying, no, not yet. How about next week? But for some of you, there could legitimately be a leave of absence, or what I got a specific message of was someone wanting to kind of move into more of like part-time or freelance type work. You can also rework job expectations. Basically, for this to happen, you're going to have to speak up and ask questions and have those sort of challenging conversations. All right. This one was so specific, and it came through from my guides in this sort of elevated language from above. It said, love yourself and the rich history of your soul. And what this is kind of reminding us, thank you, angels, is basically that we're more than just this physical body. We're not defined solely by our family, by our current job situation. We're beyond that. We're many lifetimes of work that is basically working through this physical vessel. And so sometimes it's about going into, if we go back into the story of Odin that I was just talking about, when he was hanging upside down in the tree, he hung from his foot, basically, not from the neck. That's important. So he hanged from one of his legs, one of his ankles. As he was looking down, it was almost as if he sacrificed the sort of lower energy to go to that higher space, that higher plane. And so many of us might be shedding the skin, he was also looking into the well of knowledge, looking beyond this plane. When he gave up one of the physical eyes, it was also kind of ostensibly so he could get the third eye, so he could see beyond. So sometimes this blocks our vision. So this is just reminding you to look within, to look around, to look up, to look down, to basically perceive in all directions and dimensions. Sorry, my guides can go deep, but that's basically what they were saying, is not to kind of get the blinders on. You may have someone in your life that is so focused on one thing. Maybe it was a rejection of a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Maybe it was a job that didn't work out. Maybe it's frustration and being able to get something to happen in the time that you want. For those of you that are trying to buy a house right now, the market is flooded and it's hard to maybe get that. I always like to remind you that you're being guided. So when things don't work out, something will work out down the line. So trust in the cosmic timing, okay? Feel free to let other people know what you're going through. I saw a group, this felt like it was younger, and this is especially for those of you that may be in college or whatever, or it could be your inner child, but it felt like there was some feeling of sadness or even like fear or anxiety about sharing that, you were breaking up, or there was a divorce, or that you needed to leave, or that you felt like you were rejected, whatever that form of separation or rejection or anxiety was. When you were in that circle of friends, they were like, oh yeah, I've been going through this too. Or, oh, we understand. Oh, we wish you would have told us sooner. So I get a feeling of acceptance and celebration and like a hug of energy. So tell other people what you're going through. They may be able to help you in ways that you didn't expect, which is cool. All right. This last one was super, this felt like it was happening to me. So this was before, the last thing that I saw before I woke up this morning. And I went back into the dream a little bit just to get some more information before I got out of bed. But the first piece was pretty interesting. So this reminded me of like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where it was the glass elevator that shot through the roof, basically. But this was a real elevator that I was in, and it felt like it was kind of doing a corkscrew energy, which was making me dizzy. And someone accidentally pushed the roof, like not just the penthouse, but all the way to the top. So this was, and it was in the 100. It was like something like 146. I think I remember the numbers. It was 146 floors up, but it was like that. We were going super fast. So when I got out, I was dizzy, and then that sort of sense of vertigo actually kind of pulled me up into the clouds. And it was trippy, because basically when you do that in dreams, sometimes it is astral projection. So I actually was looking down on things. There were a few messages here. First of all, I think some of you may have a chance to break through. It's a breakthrough, literally. You might be getting through a glass ceiling, breaking through expectations. People didn't expect that you could do something. There may be also this rapid movement that's happening in your life, positive, mostly positive based on what I felt. But it's too fast for some of you. So if you're trying to rush, I would say slow down. It's happening. I feel like the goal or goals which you're trying to achieve, they're attainable. But if you go too far, too fast, too quickly, you will not have steady footing. And I saw then that I got lost in the clouds because I couldn't figure out where I was going. So I think it's important to figure out why you're rushing so much. And then if it does start to happen fast, ground yourself. Even if we go back to the Hanged Man, Odin is connected to the Tree of Life, which is like the ultimate symbol of grounding. So it's important to take your time and ground yourself on something that you can trust and see, so that you can accept and kind of integrate all of these things that are coming through in your life right now. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this again. So top of the world is basically what this was. The elevator went all the way to the top of the world, and then it went up to the roof, and then I went beyond the building itself. So there are no limits there. You're going to go beyond your expected limits. And I felt vertigo. I've had vertigo before, and I know the feeling, and it's a little bit trippy. It's kind of like if you're, I guess the closest thing, yeah, if you're a little kid and you're spinning around, or maybe if you're intoxicated, all of these things have the same thing. But just imagine you haven't done anything and you're walking, but it feels like everything's spinning. So slow down, sit down, ground yourself, and basically get situated is what I said here, and then move. The breakthrough can be great, but it can also be this feeling of, now what? Oh my God, I did that. What am I going to do with this? So make sure that you have a plan for after the success happens, so that you know what to do next. The other thing now, as I went back into the dream after I heard the alarm go off, I'm like, no, let me go back in for a second. And I was able to get back in. I got one more message. I met someone while I was kind of connected in that space who had their heads in the clouds, but not in a good way. So I was in there for a second and I could see what was going on, but I also felt the dizzying energy. So sometimes when I read energy for someone, or for, yeah, it's not necessarily for me, but maybe someone that, you know, is around me, or some connection where they are having problems emotionally, possibly even mentally, being able to put things together. It feels dizzying to me because there's too much going on, and the energy is kind of chaotic. So if there's someone in your life who's making bad decisions, who's not sort of thinking straight, they may need some help there. So I basically felt like the energy wasn't grounded, and it was someone who may not be ready to receive it yet. So obviously you've got to wait for someone to be ready before you can kind of step in and make a difference. But there was someone for some of you out there who had their head in the clouds, and not in a good Seven of Cups way, more in a sort of like, what's going on? But for the rest of us, it is about expanding, exploring. And with the Seven of Cups, sometimes it can be dizzying even for the best of us, right? And so this is a reminder to not overthink, not think, oh, what about this, and then this, and then this. Really kind of focus on a few things, bring them down to earth, and figure out how you're going to work with that, okay? When I first started to sort of connect intuitively with my skills, one of the things that I remember is that in some meditated states, you could kind of feel that vertigo. So this can also be like a Kundalini awakening for some of you, where you're starting to go higher energetically. And for that, definitely you want to take your time, because if you go too far, too fast, you can kind of get nauseous. And that was some of what I was feeling. So don't rush intuitive development. Allow it to happen in natural timing, and slow is better. That's another message I would have for that. I'm stacking up my note cards here, but don't worry. When I get to the midpoint, I'll do a quick review of everything, and I'll hold them up to the camera so that you can read them a little bit more. I also post everything that you see here across my social media networks, so you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, of course, here on YouTube if you haven't already, and also on Twitter. And I will post those cards and messages to those different platforms. Twitter, I'm N Ashbaugh. Everywhere else, I'm Nicholas Ashbaugh. Okay, so give me 1 second here just to glance at what I used last month. I try not to repeat with you, with all of you. So I'm gonna look at that real quick and take a look at some of the decks here. A quick reminder, if you just joined, that again, you can always use this for your sun, rising, and moon. And let's see, it looks like we used lights here. So I'm gonna select a different deck here, and I wanna see what's calling to me today. We need something that has a little bit of grounded energy. I think I'm going to use the Wildwood Tarot, because that will that will go well for what we're looking at today. All right, so thank you for giving me a second. I just wanted to get through the messages and choose something that makes sense. All right, so let's give this a shuffle and see what messages are coming through for you. And welcome, everyone. Thank you to everyone who hit the like button. I'd like to remind you that that helps with discovery and engagement. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please consider doing that as well. It doesn't cost anything, but it definitely helps you discover me in the future, and it also helps other people discover me. All right, Taurus, let's see what's coming through for you for the next 6 to 8 weeks. Sun, rising, moon, Venus. I love this deck, but it's not fun having to to shuffle circular decks. Welcome. It's so good to see so many new members today. That is such a great way to support the channel. Thank you guys for joining. I appreciate it. All right. So yeah, it looks like we had like 2 or 3 new members today. Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about your messages. You got 2 catalyst cards. We'll look at the first one and then the one that's underneath it. So the one that I chose here was the box. The box card was reversed. So this is literally thinking outside of the box and also looking at the box as maybe being more of a symbol of like a tesseract. This is kind of trippy when you look at the way that all of the sort of shapes create some effects there. So as you look in that, you actually see that the box goes in. Can you see that effect on camera? It's pretty cool if you look at it. It can also be a pyramid if you look at it in a different way. And it's kind of like the top of a pyramid, right? So we could either be looking down into a portal or it could be the top of that. So isn't that cool to kind of look at how a box doesn't have to be something that's just 2 or 3 dimensional. It can be multi-dimensional. And especially if you look at, like, I remember this from A Wrinkle in Time. If we draw a box in 3 dimensions, it actually kind of sets up a tesseract. So let's see if I can do it real quick. There we go. So a box can also be that multi-dimensional there. So let's remember that we're only as boxed in as we allow ourselves to be. So let's not box ourselves in so much. Let's try to look at all the different directions, all the different dimensions. The card that came underneath it was the heart, and the heart card also kind of reversed, but with the circular deck, it doesn't matter as much. So in this particular heart, guess what we have? It looks very much like the 6 of Swords at the center, right? It looks like people are moving up, moving on, opening up, and kind of starting a new journey. So letting go of something that was fixed in time and space, moving away, moving on, moving forward to something else, thinking outside of the box, expanding, releasing, all of that is part of this. Catalyst messages help us not stay stuck, help us go into the highest possible energy and really move where we need to move. So think unconventionally, give yourself the distance, the time, and the space that you need to to go where you need to go. And so for some of you, you may just need a little bit of time and space to sort of figure out, who am I? How did I get here? How do I feel about what's going on? All right, let's go to the center card here. We have the Nine of Cups, and this is a pretty trippy Nine of Cups. He actually is floating. We see sort of like a guru floating in space and time. And the Nine of Cups can be like this sometimes, right? It's the intoxication that wants to, like, basically it can take us really, really high, or it can sometimes be this sort of energy where you're going into the opposite direction. It's just too much, right? So you need to try to find a place where you can just stay focused and avoid distractions, right? If there's anything going on and you're distracted, then you want to be looking at the bigger picture here. So sometimes when someone says something and it just gets stuck in our head, like an earworm, right? It's like, how do I get this out of my head? How do I focus on something else? What you really want to think about is like, what is a person going through? Why are they trying to distract me? What's going on with the attention here? Because sometimes if it's a kid or a dog or an animal, there might be something else that's going on. If it's a person in your life that's aware of what they're doing, it's a completely different context. For your own sort of higher purpose, the Nine of Cups is good. It's like saying, look at the cup as being half full, focus on the positive aspects of it, and don't focus on what you can't control or the negative things, and don't be a perfectionist, because when we try to make everything perfect, everything bright, everything great, it's unrealistic. It's a little bit, it can be even annoying for other people. So it's good to be realistic, to be real, to be empathetic, and to be just basically grounded. I think if you can ground yourself a little bit, it will help with this. You already have really positive energy with the Nine of Cups. When I read for somebody and I see that, it's generally going to be a fun and engaging reading because the person is pleasant. And usually they're their own worst enemy, where they just have, like, they're tough on themselves. So don't be so hard on yourself. That's what I would say with this. All right, we have Ace of Bows. So in this particular deck, bows are wands, or I should say the bow is the wand and the arrow is the sword. So we have here the initial portion of the sort of ideation of something here. So whenever I see Ace of Wands, it's really about a kernel of an idea that's starting to form. It's about feeling the sense of vitality when you get up in the morning. So I see motivation. I see an idea. I see that there's been a lot of work that's been in, sort of like creating this state of mind. But when I look at deep past, I see someone who has worked themselves so much that they're exhausted. The Four of Swords in reverse is someone that is in massive need of a vacation. So what can happen here is that this little spark here, and it even says like spark of life right at the very bottom. That spark of energy, that spark of life, that intuitive sort of beginning can fizzle out, or can, you know, sort of crash and burn because you're pushing too much. So I want you to basically just give yourself a chance to rest, and that's essentially part of this. I like that we also see this beautiful transformative energy here, where they are basically allowing themselves, just like I did last night, to kind of go up and above and explore and to receive. Sleep, I talked to Aries about this yesterday. It's not just a requirement, a requisite, it's a ritual, it's sacred. It's the time that we basically decide to just let ourselves go, let ourselves repair, to connect with our higher selves. So if we deplete ourselves of that energy, we're basically just only running in the physical. We lose some of the connection to the metaphysical. So I love that we see the butterfly associated with this. Let things go as well. This is also a death and rebirth card in and of itself. There are really three, I guess you could say. There's death itself, there's the Six of Swords, there's the Four of Swords. On some levels, even the Fool is a new beginning. So Judgment is another one. There's a lot of cards here that can show endings. This one is about, for those of you that might be kind of looking at relationships in your life, this is when someone stops investing. They just don't call, they don't answer, they don't reply. I talked also to Aries about this yesterday. That is a form of indirect rejection, which is also protection for you. So if someone never replies to you, that is also the same as replying and saying, leave me alone, or I don't care, or I don't want to hear this. So let it go, rest, reuse the energy towards something that matters. If you're spinning your wheels at a job and the same thing is going, it's like they have cotton in their ears and they're not listening to you, same thing is going on here. So wherever that lack of investment is, you want to pay attention on how you can find something that is reciprocating, okay? We have the Two of Pentacles here, showing balance, also showing in this particular deck a challenge. But I like that there's a little bit of a dance going on. Sometimes people just want to see what you're made of. So this happens a lot as like a quote unquote pressure test, if you will, where people want to see, can you rise to the occasion? How much can you take? Will you take? Do you have the ability to push back, to delegate, to say, not today, not now. I need some time, I need some space, or this is unrealistic. People in your life are constantly testing boundaries. So just like these two little jackrabbits or hares are kind of like sparring a little bit, no one's really going to get hurt here. But the main thing here is that someone's challenging your energy management skills. I always read Two of Pentacles as time, as an energy balance, not so much a deficit. The one thing that I will say with this is you probably have to pick something that you are more connected to. So if you have a few things in front of you and you want to really go after one, then that should get most of your time and energy. With the typical Two of Pentacles, you're not going to see it perfectly balanced. So we can imagine that it's going to be like a 70-30 split. You're going to need to put more in one than the other. Okay? Maybe even just put that to the side and give 100%, because when you take one away, you've got an ace again, and you can do a lot more than with an ace. Okay? Or you need to ask for help, and you get a third, and that's the Three of Pentacles, and things start to happen then. So you either need to let something go or get some more help in order to get to the next level. I always like to add and subtract in some of the trickier cards because it helps you understand why you're there. We have the Page of Wands here in your crowning position, and we see this person kind of going out on a ledge, out on a limb, if you will, trying to figure out, is my idea okay? Do you like what I'm doing? You're putting yourself out there, basically. So you have an idea, and this is you kind of following through on it and kind of, you know, tiptoeing your way out there. So don't be afraid to put yourself out on a limb. It's always scary in the beginning. But from what I can see here as I'm looking at things here, especially when I see the Fool card at the end and the Six of Cups here in the near future, I feel like there's some positive things going on for you. All right, so let's move to that. We have Six of Cups here in the near future. So for those of you watching live, this could be happening either you know, towards the end of this month in July or at the beginning of August. We have the Six of Cups here. It says reunion. Oftentimes, this is a reunion with someone from the past. It could be an old friend, an old colleague. It could also be someone who you just have this really great connection with. It's almost like a best friend, right? And so if there is this opening of this, it could be a return also to kind of a part of yourself. Like when sometimes we lose ourselves, right? You can lose yourself in a relationship. You can lose yourself if you're a caretaker and looking after someone who's ill. You can lose yourself in even just like schoolwork or a project. So this can be reconnecting with yourself. The reunion can be reunion of self. It can be a reunion of two souls. It can also be like a really great connection where if you're looking for love, Six of Cups is the great sort of card to pick up on, because this is someone with whom you're not going to only share that sort of spark of attraction, because we do have that here at the center, but also a deeper soul connection. So be patient. Remember the Hanged Man. Patience will pay out here because it feels like something good is on the horizon for you. Nothing really bad with the Six of Cups. One thing that will help you is a sense of humor and a sense of levity, because the Six of Cups is the children sort of card here in tarot, and usually you see two kids on it. We don't necessarily see it here. We just see like a couple of otters or whatever. But normally you would see a couple of kids, and they're bringing that playful, youthful energy. And they also remind us to not hold on to things so much. One of the things that children do well is move from emotion to emotion. So if something's going really well, ride that out, but also don't go ridiculously high. If something's bad, you know, a kid will just kind of cry it out, and then they're back to playing with their friend the next minute. We can always start each new day with like a clean slate. We have the Knight of Swords here in the ego state this month, and this makes a lot of sense. We have the hawk. We have, you know, I saw the birds this morning, so I'm glad we have a bird represented here. And with the knight, knight moves things forward. So this month, you're really going to be expected to not just kind of go out on the limb here, but to then follow through. This is the idea. This is the execution. So we have wands. Now we have swords. The swords is going to be communicating. For some of you, this is picking up the phone, writing a note. This could also be getting out there, hitting the streets, or rolling up your sleeves and doing something yourself. But the Knight of Swords is going to take action. The Knights are very, very busy. Pages do a lot of work too, but the Knights are kind of like, they're the movers and the shakers. They're really going to get it done. This would be like a manager or like a producer. They're kind of behind the scenes getting it all finished. So put on your producer hat this month and get things done, basically, okay? Now we have the potential block for you. So in this particular deck, this is the Devil card. I'm just double checking. Yes, this is the Devil card. So we have the Guardian, and the Guardian here is not so scary, actually, to me. It's just a skeleton. So when I look at this particular card, what actually comes to me for those of you that might be facing a block, this is in your environment. We all have skeletons in our closet, something that we need to reveal, we need to somehow kind of like just release. So if there's something that you aren't happy with or are feeling like needs to be healed, this is the time to deal with it. And also, if you can take ownership, accountability, and control over something, then you're not going to have to worry about it. So whatever it is, this would be sort of getting ahead of that. In PR and in marketing, one of the rules is to kind of like control the dialogue or the narrative. So for those of you where maybe someone's trying to use information against you, maybe you're afraid of being judged, maybe you're just afraid. This is where I saw the circle of friends. Just talk it out and get it out there and get the skeleton out of the closet. And I like to think that the skeleton becomes a skeleton key. Once you own that, then you can go anywhere and do anything you want. So let's make the skeleton a skeleton key. Let's just take one of his bones and make it into a key, and you've got what you need. The other thing with the Devil card here is, I believe he was reversed here. So the good news with the Devil reversed is you're stepping into this sort of opening and release and unshackling sort of energy. If there's anyone in your environment that wants something unrealistic, it's a no. So if you see a contract that is too restrictive, like you have a non-competitive clause in it for whatever reason, no, because you want to open yourself up to be able to do things. If you have a partner and you want to commit, but they don't want to commit, then they can't give you what you're looking for. If you've met someone at an inconvenient time, and I actually saw this in my meditations as well, I just ran out of table space. I saw like 2 partner groups, but it felt like one person was partnered, another person was interested in another one, but they weren't interested in them. It was complicated. And basically, I saw a bunch of different variations of the Devil card, which was a lack of mutual interest, a lack of mutual availability, or just not paying attention or not being ready. So I kind of saw it, I saw all of it represented. This may be a tricky time for new relationships. I think focusing on existing ones is going to be really key. If you're in a new one, take your time. Don't let your head spin around and get dizzy. Make sure that you really see things for what they are. So it doesn't mean that you can't see somebody new. It just means that I would take it slow and get to know everything you can about this person, and then see where it takes you. We'll look at relationships in just a second, but the fact that the Devil is in the environment tells me there's something around you that's either too good to be true or not good enough for your standards. There's something that's not kind of like on the level, okay? So whether it's a person, a contract, or an opportunity, or it could even be something in your life that you're trying to release, like a health habit where you're, trying to stop drinking or trying to just be healthier in how you take care of your body. This is the time to release the old habits, okay? All right, now we have the 10 of Swords here, but this is not a scary 10 of Swords. And I really like the way that they did this particular one. So again, wands are bows and swords are arrows. So we see in this one, a 10 of Swords showing instruction. Everything in our life is here to help us. Life doesn't happen to us, it happens for us. So this is about owning the lesson as well and taking a difficult situation, taking a lemon and making lemonade. And there's nothing scary about this 10 of Swords at all. So I think the way that this person overcame the 10 of Swords was probably asking for help, because we see the instruction there. So let's imagine that this is a novice archer, and they're just trying to figure out how do I do this? So instead of, putting the arrows in every direction, they talk to someone, they get the advice, they figure it out. So if something's difficult, ask for help. That's something that I kept getting in dreams and messages for you, and the crows this morning that were cawing at me. So I would say it's important for you to find that support. And then if something is difficult, it's also a full stop. So we have the devil here, and then we have the 10 of swords. If something doesn't feel right, this is the universe giving you an automatic out of that. You don't have to stick around. You don't have to kind of like be in that energy. So if someone or something is making it difficult to stay, remember, we got the 6 of swords symbolically. We even see it here as well. So I saw it with the swords. I also see it here at the center. Do what you love. Follow your heart. Your heart is going to be that ship guiding you in the right direction. Okay. That's in hopes, fears, and opportunities. So it's very much something that you can avoid or manifest depending on what you're looking for. So let's assume that we're going to take all of that sort of energy, all of the lessons from the past, and put them together and make a new start, because I think that really was the message at the beginning. I think you're going to be okay with that. And that's what we have at the end here. We have the Fool, and I think in this deck it's a she, but it doesn't matter. But she was reversed. So with the card reversed, it's basically saying some of you may be resistant to or uncertain of some sort of a new shift or path in your life. And everything that we've been talking about today is basically telling you it's going to be okay, right? So trust yourself, trust that it will be okay, and take a step in that direction. Let's expand the forecast now. We're going to look at health, which is your mind, body, and spirit, your wealth, which is money and life purpose, love, which is relationships, and then we'll also look at destiny, which is helping you decide, do you like the trajectory that you're on? Let me take another drink here, and then we will start with the health card. Just some herbal tea for my throat. Still not decaffeinated, but I talk a lot here, so I need that. All right, so we're looking at mind, body, spirit. We have strength and guidance. So the strength part is important for some of you that have been basically trying to get back into shape after the pandemic. This is reminding you to take it easy. Remember what I said with the meditation earlier, the sort of vertigo. Make sure that you have the proper diet if you're doing strength training. Make sure that you're taking it easy. Make sure that you're not doing something too fast, okay? The other piece with this is how amazingly helpful it can get to have guidance, whether it's a guidance counselor at school or college, or some sort of a therapist that you could talk to, or a friend that gives you that sense of sort of being a sage, right? This is what we're looking for. That's what Odin was ultimately looking for when he was on the tree of knowledge and when he drank from that well, the Well of Urd, or Mimir's well. Basically, he was looking for answers. Aren't we all looking for answers? I kind of liked that in Nordic mythology, there's imperfect gods and goddesses. So even like the All-Father didn't have all the answers. He had to go other places to look for that. So that was kind of cool. All right, so do what you need to this month. It feels like you're kind of being guided into this soul searching, basically, energy. And that was the message that I wrote from my guides, which was love yourself and the rich history of your soul. So do what you need to this month to discover who you are. This is really more of a life purpose card than anything, right? So I think that that's really important. Let's look at the cards here as well and get some additional messages about health. Moderation is going to be really important. The 9 of Cups is positive, but it can also go to extremes. So the vertigo that I felt, I saw this card immediately and I'm like, that makes sense, because it's trying to go overboard. It's trying to overcompensate, like in 1 month to make up for a year. Don't do that. Work-life balance, or balance in general. Balance, because I felt the vertigo as well. So if you're feeling vertigo, push pause on this, go to your doctor and come back later, because that can indicate a lot of other things. It could be blood pressure. It could be something neurological, etc. So just take care of yourself. And if you push yourself too far, then an imbalance will happen. And you don't want to have that happen in your body. Okay, and let me see if there's anything else here. The 10 of Swords, of course, is going to be chronic pain. This one looks like it's pretty isolated. It looks like it's acute chronic, not necessarily like all over your body, but maybe one point. Obviously with that, also talk to a doctor or a chiropractor or a massage therapist and get that stuff worked out so that you can have proper spinal health. With it being in the possibility space, one thing that I would say is you can avoid this as well. So some of you might just have some bad habits when it comes to carrying things or posture, or we've talked earlier in some of the collectives, and I feel like even recently, about like the chairs and the sleeping conditions. Just make sure that everything around you is supporting good body posture and health. And there's nothing bad about having a nice walk. we have the Fool here too. With the Fool reversed and with the Two of Pentacles, balance is important. So make sure, just like when I'm doing the reading, that the phone is not here. Like you put that in your pocket, put it on vibrate, focus on your surroundings. Don't like text and take a hike. That's not going to equal good things. Mostly your health cards are good. It does feel like there's something around you that could be a temptation, or there could be someone around you that's triggering you, because the devil can also indicate a person. So if there's someone that is just sort of like bad news, then it is time to create some distance. So that's the message there. Thank you again for the super stickers. I appreciate it. All right, looking now at wealth rather, we have the guardian angel. It says you are not alone, which is what I mentioned when I saw the friends there earlier. For those of you that are looking to make a breakthrough, maybe a new job, maybe you're looking for some advice, this is about kind of tapping into your circle of friends, the people that you trust, and reminding that that's how you're going to find it. It's through a connected circle here. And as I'm looking at this, we actually see that there's a Merkaba underneath it, or kind of like a Star of David underneath it. It looked like 3 at first, but I can see the 2 triangles inter overlapped rather. Whenever I see I actually have been seeing a lot of feathers as I've been walking. That is a reminder to listen, to tune in, because they are messengers from the other side. And I would say for some of you, when we're looking at wealth, what does your higher self tell you about what you're doing right now? Wealth would be life purpose or your job. If you're retired, it could be how you're spending your time. If you're mid-career, it's what you're working on. If it's what you're studying right now, do you still feel that this is what you want to do? We get to choose at any point. I've already made many life changes just over 21 plus years that I was working. For 15, it was corporate, but then for the rest, I've been making it up as I go, and it's a lot more fun. But even in my corporate experience, I shifted radically from something that was more technical to something that was more creative, to something that was more production, to something that was more marketing. Even within the same company, you can do stuff like that. So we should always be kind of like using the different parts of our head here. So where are you being guided? Because this is touching all the dimensions, all the directions, and it's pointed up towards spirit. So spirit should be leading you on that, okay? Let's specifically look at money. I think you only have one card here, the 2 of Pentacles. We don't have any other Pentacles. Oh, okay. I might look a little bit more at resources when we go into the soul path, but with this, you have to make a choice. It's not as flexible as 6 of Pentacles, where it would just be like, push it off a little bit. The timing is all that you have to deal with. With the 2 of Pentacles, I feel like there's a choice in front of you, really how you want to spend your time and energy. We have a couple cards here that can show exhaustion. You're working too hard, and this is burnout. This can also be someone else that's trying to control you. I mean, I looked at it in an auspicious sort of form, but it can also be someone that won't let you figure out what you want to do. So it feels like having the freedom to explore what you need, having the resources and the time and the energy just to kind of like take care of yourself is important. But freedom comes through the most as I'm looking at career and life purpose. Are you free to decide? Or is it sort of like you're in some dystopian environment where they're watching everything like the crows, right? So freedom, independence, privacy, all of those things are kind of coming through when it comes to work and life purpose. You will have enough to make it do, but you're going to have to let something go. And that's why I had that separation, divorce, or release message that came through, because you only got the 2 of Pentacles. So you can do something really well this month. You just can't do everything really well. Pick 1 or 2 things to focus on, and don't spread yourself too thin. I think those are the main messages here. Finally, if there's a contract and it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. If it's not good enough for you, say no. Something about it I don't like, with the devil card in reverse. Also, remember, if there's something that somebody knows about you and they're trying to use it against you, just own it. Then they have nothing. Then you bankrupt them and you have control of it, and you can actually do something good with it. Don't be blackmailed. Don't be afraid. Always own the narrative. It's more powerful to be yourself, to speak your truth. Those are the main messages here. Okay. If you're in a job, by the way, the devil card is reversed right now, and I saw the glass ceiling kind of shattered, if you will, like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. But the one thing that I was feeling with all of that, though, was this sense of chaos after the ceiling was shattered. So for some of you, you may get to the level that you want, but if it's a company that doesn't support you at that level, it may not be what you want in the long run. So be mindful of the structure beneath you, because if you break through a glass ceiling, but the building is the tower, maybe it's not the best place to be in the long run anyway. So figure out what you're trying to do with that, because it did feel like there was something where I still had to leave that building anyway. And I get a feeling that for some of you, you're in the tower and it's time to move beyond the tower. All right, let's look at relationships. We have a beautiful card here. It's reversed. Faith. It says humanity and benevolence. Stay calm, trust the good in yourself and others, and stay in the light in the world. Or see the light in the world, rather. So with this one, with faith, the most important thing for yourself is to believe in yourself. And then benevolence here is to kind of be the knight, if you will, take the higher path, support people, do what they're supposed to be doing, or show them how they're supposed to be doing this. Lead by example is the way that I really want to say that. Seeing the light in the world, I feel like you're already capable of doing that with the 9 of Cups here at the center. So just kind of stay in that higher energy, if you will. Let's focus on the fact that the card Faith was reversed. So for those of you in existing relationships, have you lost faith in the other person? Has the other person done something unfaithful? Or have you just sort of, the other piece of this was the benevolence. Do you just feel like you're not getting the kindness that you need from that other person? So for those of you in love, faith and support and kindness are the most important things. And if they're missing, what we might end up doing is going into some sort of an argument. 10 of Swords to me is things that you say that you really don't want to say. It's important to maybe walk away from that kind of situation before it happens. Or if it happens, when it happens, just say, I'm actually more concerned about you because this is not like you and we're not accomplishing anything. And before you say things that you regret, I'm gonna pull back here because this isn't the right thing. Don't interact with someone. When they're in the 7 of Swords or 10 of Swords energy, you can't win. 5 of Swords too. It's just sort of like, this isn't worth your time and energy. With 7 of Swords, you can at least say be accountable. But with 10 of Swords, people are just arguing. So I feel like you want to avoid unnecessary arguments this month and find a way to reconnect on a heart level. Looking at some of the things that might be causing stresses in existing relationships, then I'll look at new and people that aren't looking at relationships at all. It feels like one or both of you have lost balance. So it's important to find that balance in your life. One or both of you could just be really emotionally charged. We have various points in our life where sometimes the loss of a loved one, sometimes the loss of a job, sometimes hormonal changes within our body. All of these things can kind of create a shift where we're not our normal self. What is normal anyway, but like where we're kind of like in this higher sensitivity. So it feels like one or both of you might have that sort of higher sensitivity, and that's where some space is needed or some help is needed, because I got the dizziness when I was connecting to the person that was in 7 of Cups. It was a lot. And ultimately, some of you may have just reached an impasse where someone isn't ready to do what's necessary to be healthy again, whether that is letting go of an addiction, whether there's something that came out that they don't want to talk about, whatever. This is where all of that needs to be aired. And if it isn't, then it's time to move on, okay? If you're looking for love this month, could be a Capricorn. The devil doesn't have to be a bad card. The devil could just be a Capricorn. But what I'm seeing here for many of you, though, is a different kind of communication style with the 10 of Swords. And it feels like there's some pain that you have to kind of clear up in your own life first. The most important thing for many of you this month is freedom and the sense of fun here too that we see with the 6 of Cups. So I feel like if both existing and new relationships can find that balance between doing what's expected, but also giving one another a chance to be free, to explore different things, like career opportunities, or just to kind of have some privacy and space, then things are going to be all right. It's a tricky month for relationships. Communication is the number one thing. Faith and trust and kindness, all of those things are playing a big role this month. We do have a couple of, when I'm looking at crowning state and ego this month, your state of mind is pretty busy here because it looks like you've got a lot going on, and we have the night energy coming through here for you too. So I feel like you're preoccupied. The interesting thing is the universe sometimes has a sense of humor and gives us what we're looking for when we don't want it. So you may end up finding someone that you really like, but you're trying to get healthier. You're getting out of a job or a situation that you don't like, there's just some stuff going on. You may be the one that has the inconvenience. So sort it out quickly so that you can enjoy this, because it does feel like there's a mutual spark for those of you that just met someone new. If you're in an old relationship, finding that spark again is going to be important. If you don't care about relationships or aren't focusing on it right now, many of you might be on the precipice of a move, because we have the Fool here, and it's a move for the better. So that looks good to me. The other thing is I see healing ultimately here with the Devil reversed. So you can definitely make some progress there. And if I kind of do a diagonal here and look at the Page of Wands, the Six of Cups, and the Knight of Swords, I see a lot of this sort of feeling of direction that's setting in. So I think you're going to figure things out this month, which is good. Okay. Final card here, Destiny. Take time to breathe. I agree with this. We have someone here at the beach that's giving gratitude for that. And if you look real close, instead of the palm tree, it's actually angel underneath there, which is really cool. So if you don't take time to have fun, if you're not relaxing, if you're not carving out some time for yourself, then you're lost. You lose yourself in someone else's energy and a bigger sort of hustle and bustle, and you don't have to do that. So take time to nurture yourself. I think that's going to be really important. Maybe some of you are trying to create a career path in which you can maybe work from home, maybe have more time with your spouse or children, or just more time to do what you want to do. Because freedom is the ultimate card here when we're looking at the Celtic Cross, the Fool. So however you can find that freedom this month, it feels like that's really important for you to take that new step in that new direction. Let's go ahead and review everything, and then we will go a little deeper. One of the things that I want to look at for sure is, I've been asking, I think I looked at this yesterday too, but because you only got the Two of Pentacles, I want to just look at resources overall and see if there's any messages on resources. And I want to look a little bit more, whenever I get the Devil card, I want to understand why it came through. So I'm going to say Devil, and I'm going to say, what's the limit or what's the message? What's limit or message? So we can figure that out. And then I always do a wild card. And then at the very end, you'll have a chance to psychically ask me a question and I'll pull a card. Very much like pick a card, but we don't have to choose between 3 decks. I just kind of tune into the collective energy. Okay, so let's quickly review everything and then we'll move on to the next part of the reading. So your dual totem this month was the crow, the bird, and also Odin. In Nordic mythology, crows are associated with Odin. He's the one-eyed god. He's also the All-Father, very close to like what Zeus would be, but not identical. They served the crows as his eyes and ears, and the crows are reminding you to open your eyes and ears as well. And there's more eyes on you this month too, kind of like a hidden star energy. So there's both scrutiny and opportunity that comes with that additional attention. Odin is the hanged man in tarot. So for many of you, you might be exiting from a stage where there's been a big pause, or you might be stepping into one where things aren't happening as fast as you want them to happen. And basically, when he hanged himself by his foot on the tree, he did that to gain knowledge. And so it was a sacrifice of time. And basically he didn't eat. It was also kind of like this fast that he did. So he gave a little bit of blood, he gave a little bit of time, he gave a little bit of energy, and then he gained the knowledge of the runes. He also drank from the Well of Urd and gave up an eye so he could learn knowledge. All of these things show that basically he was willing to sacrifice something to get something else. It was an exchange. So in order to kind of like pull all of this together, I would say patience is an essential. Oh, sorry, I skipped one. What I was going to say, he was, here it is. Yeah, patience is essential, but so is an exchange. So yeah, not even Odin was above that sort of cosmic exchange that was going on. And the fact that we have the devil here in the environment tells me that someone may be trying to cheat you of that exchange, or you might be trying to cheat or time itself. And it's just sort of like, be patient. There's either a time or energy exchange that has to happen there. It's a payment, and it's going to allow everything to kind of come in at the right time for you. One thing that you can do is negotiate fair salaries and contracts. If there's anything that isn't the way it should be, now is the time to bring it into proper focus, proper sort of balance. Also, the very final message that we got from the crows was just to clean up messes in your life so that you can have a really nice end of the year. This is your time. This is your moment. I saw a separation happening for some of you. We actually saw a symbolic sort of energy of that here in this particular card. I saw 6 crows this morning, 6 of swords, so that really is a nice synchronicity there. Do your best to try to leave with dignity and grace if you need to, and use all the sort of tools in your communication toolbox. Some people learn visually, some people look at the words, some people need to just sort of like take it in on multiple channels. So don't be afraid to use all of those methods. You can do a lot with your current job situation or future ones. Don't be afraid to negotiate. You might need time off, time away. You might also be able to rework existing job expectations. Know that you are more than this physical being. You're a timeless, ageless soul. And in this particular moment in time, your guides wanted you to remember that, sort of like your divinity, connect with your divinity. And know that you don't have to walk this path all alone. You're not alone. Even in the 2 of Pentacles here, someone's fighting for your time and energy. They're probably trying to get your attention too. So you just open up. There's more than what meets the eye there when it comes to support. Then I saw this sort of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory elevator that shot through the roof. What was cool is that it went to the top of the world. So the sky's the limit. But I did feel like I was sort of dizzy, and I felt that sense of vertigo, and things were moving too quickly. This could just be what happens when change takes, like if you've been waiting and waiting 10 years and all of a sudden you get the call for something, it's sort of like it takes your breath away, right? So sometimes that can be good, but if you rush it, this is also kind of like what we were talking about with intuitive development. Take your time and make sure that you have grounding so that you don't lose yourself. Once you have that once you get situated, once you get your bearings, then you can move forward. And you may be really happy with what happened, because if you break through expectations or a glass ceiling, you're opening up a path for others in the future. There may be someone in your life right now that has their heads in the clouds. That means that they may not be listening to common sense. They may be doing things that put themselves or others at danger. And this sort of thing, you'd probably need to have an intervention perhaps, but the positive side is it could just be 7 of Cups where you're, or in this case, maybe 9 of Cups, where you're just feeling this influx of ideas or inspiration. Think outside of the box. You're not limited. You're only limited if you think you are. And then you really want to focus on what your heart is telling you to do, where it's taking you, because we see the sort of 6 of Swords energy on this heart card here. Okay. Center card, 9 of Cups. Looking at the silver lining whenever you can, not forcing yourself to see positive if you need to work through an emotion, because denying an emotion is also not very effective. So you're allowed to be upset, to be triggered. You just want to go to the bottom of that emotion and figure out how to neutralize it. So this is basically also a card of balance, which is why we have the 2 of Stones over here, the 2 of Pentacles, saying, don't try to go too far in one direction. I do think you're going to get some great ideas this month. Take action on them. Page of Wands and Knight of Swords. Good things will come from that. This is a great card for vitality as well. So it feels like you're starting to get more of a skip in your step, which is why we also see the Fool here. Deep Past is showing a lack of rest here. We have 4 of Swords reverse, which is the reverse of resting, which is you're too busy and you're not getting enough sleep. The 2 of Pentacles showing a difficult but necessary change and choice. Most importantly, a choice with resources, work-life balance, or school and life, or whatever you're doing, plus your happiness. Happiness has to be a part of this. 6 of Cups, I see someone really cool coming into your life. So that's good. I also see maybe you rediscovering or reclaiming a part of your inner child or or a lost piece of yourself in the past, and that's great too. Your voice is important, and it can move a lot of things this month. So use communication to your advantage. Edit a contract if you don't like it. Say no to someone if they're unrealistic. Push back if you don't want to do something. The devil here is also the guardian. He's guarding you and helping you not take a path you shouldn't. Could actually be a very auspicious figure as well. Don't do this. You don't want to do this. So listen to that voice in your head. Ultimately, with the card reversed, it's going to help you find the freedom that you seek. So you're going to be fine. 10 of Swords. Interesting card here, showing instruction being an important piece, but there's also control. So making sure that you have the ability to do what you want to do. But for some of you, you have to ask for support as well. So finding that balance, finding that dance is important. Health card. Some of you are focusing a lot on physical, like strength training. That's fine. Again, I saw the vertigo. You don't want to go too far and then have the devil card come through. So moderation is key. The other thing with health, with the 9 of Cups, That's a lot of cups. So this can just, again, be emotional charged energy. So sometimes just feeling like you're really, really happy or really, really sad, and you might need to talk to someone if you're feeling like you can't control that. It can also be drinking too much or doing too much of anything. And that's why the devil came through. So moderation is key. Guidance as well, talking to someone for support. It's a big piece of that as well. Looking at career, it feels like you're being guided to a different path. Some of you are just burned out. Some of you may have an environment where they don't motivate, they just kind of complain. For the rest of you, it's saying don't limit yourself, since I saw the glass ceiling. So this is literally limits, and if it's reversed, it's don't limit yourself. You have the freedom to go any direction that you want to. Be kind to your body, be kind to yourself. And the other thing with the health card, even though we're looking at wealth, is to pay attention to an acute but maybe chronic pain that might be coming through. Relationships, you got to work on the faith piece of it and the kindness piece. So if you've lost faith in one another, that's a house of cards. You've got to get that back. If someone did something and you just can't forgive them, then it's okay to move on. That was what I saw way at the beginning when I was just channeling. So if you're looking for new love, definitely could be coming in this month with the Six of Cups, with perhaps a Capricorn sort of energy in the environment. But it feels like you need to clean up your life. The crows told me that, or they need to clean up theirs first. So let's let the cleaning begin. I literally saw Windex also in my dream. So it was like, there needs to be some clearing and cleaning for things to get better. And I think that's key. I actually sprayed it on someone to kind of like wake them up in the dream, and it worked. Because this was a person with their head in the cloud. They just kind of needed a clear head. My guides work with strange symbols sometimes, but anyway, you got to clear your headspace first. And this can happen by taking time to breathe. And ultimately, you should be working towards that end over the next, few months or few years. You should be trying to create some more space for yourself. All right, let's move on to the soul path and look at some additional messages to help you out. I want to start first with the resources, because we only got the Two of Pentacles. Thank you so much for that sticker. I appreciate that, Liz. Let's look and see what's coming through for resources. How can you create more abundance in your life? How can you find a way to stretch things if you need to, or find something that you didn't know was there? So let's try to open up more abundance and resources. All right. We have the Four of Wands. The card is reversed, but this is one of the cards that's positive no matter which way it is. Four of Wands is friendship. It's monogamy. It can be really positive partnership. It's also holding space for all of these things to come into your life. And I love that we see all the fiery energy with that. Notice that this one is very celebratory. It's almost more what I would imagine with like Three of Cups or 10 of Cups. So the answer here is in your support group, which is something I talked about before. Best friends, family members, coworkers. This is where you want to go to find the resources. They're right there. And I saw that circle of friends that were willing and ready to listen or help you or support you with your path. So you've got it. You've got the support. It may not be in money, but it might be in opening up a doorway for you to find the support, to find the resources. You're fine. And there's clearly some people around you that love you, or some resources that are available to you where you'll find those people that are there to support you. Okay. So don't underestimate. I've actually found at least 3 of my best jobs from direct word of mouth, where in a couple of cases, like when I just graduated from grad school, one of my professors just picked up the phone and said, I have a student that graduated. I know you have a position. Meet with them. And I got the job. It wasn't something that I worked forever at, but it was like my first job. So I got my first job from a recommend. And then the 2 of my best jobs were friends that I worked with at other jobs. Like they knew my work ethic. And so it was the same sort of thing. Like they walked the resume over and talked to someone, and another one picked up the phone or emailed the other boss and said, you really need to talk to this person. I wasn't afraid to ask. I was like, I saw a job there, or do you know of anything? And in both instances, the person said, yes, I do. I'm so glad you asked. We've been looking, and this person's been looking, and you would be great. But I had to put myself out there and be vulnerable. I had to put myself out on a limb. I don't like what I'm doing. Do you know? I'm like, in both situations, I was actually in a bad place where I thought like I can't be here anymore. And I asked for help. So don't be afraid to ask for help. You might be really surprised. I got really good openings that happened each time I put myself out there. Okay. All right. Thank you again for all the super chat and super stickers. I appreciate it. All right, next card is going to be looking at the devil, specifically what the devil symbolizes, which is limits. So what is the limit? What is the message? What is the thing we need to avoid? In this particular deck, the guardian is trying to keep us from doing something. Let's see if it's a protective guardian or just a guardian that's kind of like trying to keep us from doing something we should be doing. So what's the message here? All right, we have the Seven of Pentacles in reverse. It really is recovery. So sometimes we want it to happen overnight. The energy that I was talking about with Odin at the beginning was all about patience. So Rome wasn't built in a day. A tree doesn't grow overnight. Basically, in order for something to be sustainable, the growth and recovery takes time. But guess what? It's there. And we also have the resources here too. So I always see Seven of Pentacles as a really auspicious card. With it reversed, however, it's the sort of temptation that can step in. It does say healing on there, by the way. But it's the temptation that can step in to see if we've learned our lessons. So if you've gone into debt before, this can be a question of kind of using your best judgment when you are deciding, should I purchase this? How much debt am I willing to carry? Can I pay this off within 2 to 3 months? It's that sort of debt management that you learned through that experience. If it's sort of like you are the eternal like mothering or fathering sort of energy and you always want to give, it's that, and you've maybe burned yourself out or gotten sick before it, the test is coming in again with someone that wants to take too much. So all you have to do is make sure that you don't give or take too much. That's the lesson of the Seven of Pentacles. If you get past that, you go to 8, 9, 10, and there's some awesome stuff waiting for you. Okay. So healing also takes time for those of you who, I know that when I once had like a broken nose, it took a year for that to heal. You wouldn't think that it would take that long to heal, but it did. And I also had like an ankle injury. I've had it a couple times, but it usually takes 6 to 8 months for some of those things to heal. So bones, ligaments, tendons, they don't heal overnight. They can take a year or years sometimes to get back to where they were. So give yourself time. Your body's amazing. You may not be exactly back to what you were before, but the goal is to kind of like heal to the best of your ability and then forgive yourself. It's a really important piece to that as well. Let's do a wild card to see what else is coming through. What other messages we should be paying attention to for Taurus? All right, 9 of Pentacles, amen to that. This is showing exactly where you want to be. This is the independence. With the 9 of Pentacles, what you would normally see is a woman that is in front of all of these sort of flowering bushes or basically money trees. And she has like a partridge or peacock or something kind of crazy, a lavish bird on her shoulder. And there's a little tiny snail in front. And all of this is showing that slow and steady wins the race, that you can absolutely reach that level of independence, self-sufficiency, etc. But it just takes time, okay? And that's what we see here, time and patience. We have a tradition sort of caption on this one, which could be, the way that I'm looking at this since this card is reversed, is to make a new tradition, to make something in your life that resonates for you, but maybe not for everyone else. We see like Stonehenge behind him as well. Connecting with the right timing, not rushing anything is key here. Let's do a quick review of these. We'll meditate and then I'll answer your final question here. So the first thing that I wrote down was resources, and I told some stories about how I connected with friends and family in the past, to mostly just friends and coworkers actually, but to find opportunities. Actually, I did family in the past because my first job, I was a waiter, and I found that through a friend of my mom's. So that knew a place that was hiring servers. I was a bus person at first. So yes, it's friends, family, and colleagues. I've gotten jobs on all different levels because of that. So don't be afraid to ask. You'll be surprised how good things can come from that. Then we saw the message about what the devil was bringing through, and it was really just this, first of all, maybe helping you understand that healing takes time. And the second one was, have you integrated the message of why it happened the first time, whatever your sort of block was? So whether it was money, whether it was faith, whether it was healing yourself, whatever it is, like you have to not rush and you have to not go down that path again. And that's all this is just sort of reintegration of that message. And then finally, we see independence, wealth, and success here in the long run. So you're headed down in that right path. For some of you to get that, you might need to walk away and kind of like dance to the rhythm of your own drums. But if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. Let's go ahead and meditate, and then I will look at your final question. Before we do that, just a couple of quick reminders. I see roughly half of you that are here have hit the like button. If you haven't done that already, please consider doing it. It helps the channel a lot. You can only do it once, but hitting it once helps people discover it. Please hit subscribe if you haven't already. Subscribe will basically just help you find me on your homepage. You're not going to get any notifications unless you want to. And the way that you can get notifications is by clicking that little bell. So it's up to you. There are 3 different ways. Feel free to do all 3 if you haven't. You can also follow me on social media if you'd like reminders. Like I said earlier, Nicholas Ashbaugh is how I am listed on most of the social media networks. You can click on the pinned comment that I have to see that. The only one that differs is Instagram, which is an Ashbaugh. If you watch this on replay, you can show support through the applaud button. It's right between share and like. You can also do super chat here, and so many of you have been very kind, so I appreciate those of you that have given some stickers. You can join the channel as well. We've got some new channel members, so welcome. All the information about past, present, and future readings is actually on my website, so feel free to click on the pin linked above. And that's it for now. I'll talk a little bit about my book at the end. But thank you in advance again to all of you who have been supporting me on Super Chat. That's how I've done these extra readings. I do 3 extra ones per month. We'll talk about that at the end. I'll tell you when the next collectives are. All right, let's move into your meditation. And today, I feel like you need to relax a little bit. So let's imagine that you're just out at the beach. I really like this final card. On a hammock or on a chair, just soaking in some rays and listening to the water. I think that would be very nice for all of us to be able to do. So let me grab my singing bowl. And as I'm doing this, I just want you to see yourself at the beach of your choice. Maybe it's something from your childhood. Maybe it's a place you like to go as an adult. Imagine that you have your own private stretch. There's no sounds of any other people around you. It's just the sound of the wind as it blows through the trees, as it blows through your hair, as it kind of goes across your ears. It's the sound of the water in the distance as it gently crashes on the shore. And as you take a nice deep breath and close your eyes, just feel the warmth and radiance of the sun as it creates this cocoon of golden energy around your body, helping you connect with your solar plexus as well, feeling a sense of power, empowerment, purpose, the ability to birth, create, and bring forth anything that you want to. Just this sense of peace and tranquility. Make sure that you give your, if you're comfortable, put your feet on the sand and just feel the warmth and support that they lend you as well. And if you'd like to, you can just lay on the beach. This is a really effective way to release problems. So you could put a sheet down, or you can just kind of go directly on the beach if you don't want to lay on a beach towel or anything, and just feel that connection. Feel like the sand is creating the perfect sort of support, almost like this cosmic hand that's holding you up. If you have any worries or troubles that are burdening your mind or energy, give them to the sand beneath you. It's like a gigantic sponge. With a nice deep inhale, see whatever that is, that block is. And on the exhale, let it go. Sending it also out into the ocean, allowing the waves to work it out, to crash through all of those problems and worries, and just leave you with a nice clean slate. Give yourself a moment here to create what I like to call like a sand angel. Just move your hands up and down a little bit in your meditation and feel like you're creating an angel shape in the sand, and then leaving your earthly body connected to that. See that it actually takes on this radiant energy and rises above your body for a second. This is your higher self looking down. Give yourself a chance to take stock of your life, because this angelic version of yourself can see past, present, future. And if there's any messages that it needs to deliver to you, as I play the singing bowl for the next minute or so, it's going to deliver those messages. And if you'd like to, you can just zen out for a second, and I'll be right back. Keeping that sense of freedom and lightness. Imagine that you can float back into your body as light as a feather, as light as the feather that we saw in this card, and rejoin your consciousness, seeing your angelic self entering through the crown chakra or through the third eye, and rejoining with your body. And as you take the next breath, I want you to take your hands together, create some warmth, some heat, some energy. Put your left hand on your heart, your right hand on top of that, and open yourself to receive healing, abundance, and messages in the days and weeks ahead, so that you make the right choice at the right time, so that you don't rush through any major decisions, so that you trust in cosmic and divine timing. All right, let's look at your final question. This question can be anything that you want. Keep it to yourself. Just meditate on what it is, and I'm going to pull a card and do my best to interpret it. If it's a yes, no, I'll say that. If it's a little bit more layered, I'll also go into that. We have the magician here, the shaman, in this particular deck, and the shaman was reversed. So ultimately, the shaman is a manifester. So the thing is with this one, if you believe it can happen, it will happen, and it will be a yes. If you don't believe it's possible, then it won't happen, because your disbelief equals reality. So I would say the most important thing for you is to try to focus on making it a yes. And with the magician reversed, it is a lack of focus that can also bring you off that path. The magician has all the tools at their disposal, but sometimes they get distracted or spread too thin, which is why we have the Two of Pentacles that came through. So if you can stay focused, say no, and pick and choose the paths which make the most sense to you, you'll be like this shaman. You'll be able to create anything that you need to. If, however, you get distracted, or you lack faith, or you focus on the disbelief, then you manifest the disbelief. So ultimately it's a yes, but only if you believe it's a yes, and only if you stay focused. So there are a couple of really major caveats with that, which is the faith energy that we saw earlier. You have to have faith in yourself, and you have to have focus. Faith and focus equals yes. Disbelief or scattered thoughts equals no. So magicians are great, but they're also very powerful, just like the high priestess. So they create their own reality on some levels. There's a healing energy with that as well. So if you need to get some healing in your life, do that. This is a reminder that maybe combining both Western and Eastern might make sense for you, because to me, a shaman is just that. It's kind of in 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So there you go. That's your message for the next 6 to 8 weeks. It was a pleasure chatting with everybody and reading for everyone today. I said I was going to give you a couple of upcoming dates here. So let me share with you, if I can find it real quick, the upcoming schedule. So here we go, August dates. So first of all, I will be live again on the weekend. I'm actually going to work on what is normally a holiday here in the US on the 4th of July. So on the 4th, I'll be reading for Gemini, and I'll also be live on Monday for Cancer. Normally, I work every Thursday, Friday, and Sunday and Monday. So it's a pretty reliable schedule. You can see everything on my website. Like I said, the next one up is Gemini. And I have a few collectives this month. The mid-month is going to be on the 11th. And then I have a couple of extra readings towards the end of the month. TBD what the topics will be for like some of these. So just keep an eye on my website for details. And for channel members and Patreon members, I usually get your input on the bonus reading, so you can affect that one. So keep an eye out for all of those upcoming readings. And I'd love to see you, like I said, on Sunday, if you're available. You can always come at the beginning, and there are messages there for everyone. Maria just put a link to my book. So if you're a fan of fantasy and sci-fi, you can check it out. I just looked this morning. I was interested. Sometimes I look at Amazon, and the hardcover copy is only $21, which it's almost the same price as the paperback. So sometimes it's $1 or $2 away. It looks like they're running a sale this weekend, so you can check it out if you want, if you'd like to. But just a quick what it's about. It's like sci-fi, fantasy, Lord of the Rings, Dune kind of energy. So if you like that deep, rich, epic sci-fi, then this is for you. If you don't, just show up here, and I appreciate your love and support. All right, remember, as we close today, you have the power to create your dreams, to manifest, but you have to stay focused, you have to stay positive, and you should observe the sort of balance message that came through with the Two of Pentacles, okay? Wishing you all the best, and I'll see you on the weekend. Thanks again to Maria for your help today. Thanks to all of my channel members, Patreon members, and all of the love and support I got from all the super stickers and super chat today. I appreciate you guys, and I hope you have an amazing weekend ahead of you. All right, take care. Be well. Bye-bye.